The notification lit up my phone screen at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the middle of a presentation at work, discussing quarterly projections with my team, when I felt the familiar buzz in my pocket. I ignored it. Whatever it was could wait. But then came another buzz, and another, and another. My Apple Watch lit up with a preview that made my stomach drop. "Mom, you're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot." I stumbled over my words mid-sentence. My colleague, Jennifer, gave me a concerned look. "Marcus, are you okay?" Yeah, sorry. Can we take 5? I didn't wait for an answer. I walked out of the conference room, my legs moving on autopilot while my brain tried to process what I'd just read. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone with trembling hands. There it was, in all its glory. "Mom, you're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot. Don't bother showing up. We're done with your disrespect." My heart pounded in my chest. Disrespect? What disrespect? I scrolled up through our recent messages, searching for some context, some clue about what had triggered this nuclear option. Our last conversation had been 3 days ago, a brief exchange about whether I was bringing someone to Thanksgiving dinner. Me, 3 days ago, just me this year. Sarah and I broke up last month. Mom, again, what happened this time? Me, just didn't work out. Different life goals. Mom, you need to stop being so picky. You're 32 years old, Marcus. That was it. That was the entire conversation. Nothing inflammatory, nothing disrespectful. Just the usual maternal disappointment about my perpetually single status. I stared at the new message, reading it over and over, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to type something, anything, but what do you say to that? Before I could formulate a response, another text came through. "Mom, and don't think you can come crawling back. You've chosen your path." Chosen my path? What path? I felt like I'd walked into the third act of a play without seeing the first two. My phone rang. "Mom," I answered immediately. "Mom, what is going on? What are you talking about?" "Don't play stupid with me, Marcus Anthony Rivers." The use of my full name, never a good sign. Her voice was cold, distant, nothing like the warm tone I'd grown up with. "Your sister told me everything." "Told you what? I haven't even talked to Amanda in 2 weeks." "Exactly, 2 weeks. 2 weeks since she reached out to you, desperate for help, and you completely ignored her." I racked my brain, scrolling through my messages with Amanda. There, 2 weeks ago, a single text. "Hey, can we talk sometime?" I'd responded the next day. "Sure, what's up? Call me when you're free." She never called. She never followed up. How was I supposed to know it was urgent? "Mom," she said, "can we talk sometime?" She didn't say it was an emergency. She never called me back. "Because you didn't make time for her." Mom's voice rose to a shrill pitch. "She needed her big brother, and you couldn't be bothered. Just like you can't be bothered with any of us unless it's convenient for you." That's not fair. What's not fair is having a son who thinks he's too good for his family now, that he has his fancy job and his fancy apartment in the city. I never said. Thanksgiving is for family, real family, people who actually care about each other. You've made it clear where your priorities are, so don't bother coming. We'll be just fine without you. The line went dead. I stood there in the hallway, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the silence where my mother's voice had been. Around me, the office continued its normal rhythm, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, the coffee machine gurgling in the break room. Everything was exactly as it had been 5 minutes ago, but my entire world had shifted on its axis. Jennifer poked her head out of the conference room. "Marcus, everything okay?" I forced a smile. "Family stuff. Can we reschedule? I need to." I need to handle something." She nodded sympathetically. "Of course, take care of yourself." I grabbed my jacket and laptop bag, barely aware of what I was doing. The elevator ride down felt like descending into a dream or a nightmare. Outside, the November air bit at my face, but I barely felt it. My phone buzzed again. "Amanda." "Amanda, I can't believe you. Mom told me what you said about me." I didn't say anything about you. What is happening?" "Amanda, don't lie. She told me you said I was always making up drama for attention, that I need to grow up and stop being so needy." My hands shook as I typed. "I never said that. I never even talked to Mom about you." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Amanda, whatever, Marcus. I should have known better than to count on you. Enjoy your lonely Thanksgiving." I tried calling her, straight to voicemail. I tried calling Mom again, voicemail. I called Dad. It rang once, then went to voicemail. He'd rejected the call. A cold realization washed over me. They'd coordinated this. They'd all decided together, without talking to me, that I was the villain in whatever story they'd constructed. I walked the 6 blocks to my apartment in a daze, barely registering the traffic or the people rushing past me on the sidewalk. Inside my building, Mrs. Chen from 3B smiled at me in the elevator. "Happy almost Thanksgiving, Marcus." "Thanks," I managed. "You too. Your family must be so excited to see you. I bet your mother is cooking up a storm." I nodded, unable to form words. In my apartment, I dropped my bag by the door and sank onto the couch. The space that usually felt like a sanctuary, my reward for years of hard work, for climbing from an entry-level position to senior analyst, suddenly felt hollow and cold. My phone buzzed, a text from my brother Derek. "Derek, heard you're not coming to Thanksgiving. Probably for the best. Mom doesn't need the stress." Derek, I don't even know what I supposedly did. Can you please tell me what's going on?" Read, no response. Another buzz, my Aunt Carol. "Aunt Carol, very disappointed in you, Marcus. After everything your mother has done for you." Then my cousin Jennifer. "Wow, real classy Marcus." Then my Uncle Bob, "Your poor mother. You should be ashamed." The messages kept coming, one after another, like a firing squad of familial disappointment. Each one vague, each one assuming I knew what I'd done wrong, each one condemning me for sins I couldn't name. I sat there on my couch, watching my phone light up with messages from people who'd known me my entire life, people who'd celebrated my birthdays and graduations and promotions, people who were now casting me out based on what? A rumor, a misunderstanding, an outright lie. And then it hit me, the bills. For the past 4 years. Since I'd gotten my promotion and a substantial raise, I'd been helping my family financially. It had started small, covering Mom's car payment 1 month when Dad's hours got cut at the factory. Then Amanda's credit card bill when she'd overspent. Then Derek's rent when he was between jobs. Then the family's cable and internet. Then Mom's cell phone plan. Then Dad's new phone when his broke. It had snowballed so gradually, I hadn't noticed the extent of it until my financial advisor had pointed it out during our last meeting. "Marcus, you're paying out almost $3,000 a month in bills that aren't yours. That's $36,000 a year. Do you realize what that could do to your retirement fund?" I'd brushed it off at the time. Their family, I'd told her. Family helps family. But now, sitting on my couch, reading message after message from people who thought so little of me that they'd condemn me without even asking for my side of the story, a different thought crystallized in my mind. Family respects family. Family trusts family. Family gives family the benefit of the doubt. And none of them had done any of those things. My phone rang again. Mom, the 23rd call in the past hour. I watched it ring until it went to voicemail. Then I opened my banking app. Mom's car payment, auto pay disabled. Mom's cell phone plan, auto pay disabled. Amanda's credit card, auto pay disabled. Derek's rent payment, auto pay disabled. Family cable internet, auto pay disabled. Dad's phone payment, auto pay disabled. Amanda's student loan, auto pay disabled. Derek's car insurance, auto pay disabled. 8 separate automatic payments, totaling $2,847 per month, all disabled in less than 3 minutes. My hands were steady now. My mind was clear. If I was banned from the family, then I was no longer obligated to fund the family. I set my phone to do not disturb and opened my laptop. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. Part 2, the backstory. To understand how it got to this point, you need to understand my family. Not the Facebook version, the one with matching Christmas sweaters and blessed captions. The real version, with all its complications and dysfunction and conditional love. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. My parents, Tom and Linda Rivers, married young. Dad was 21, Mom was 19. I came along 10 months later. Amanda arrived when I was 3, and Derek rounded out the family when I was 6. We grew up in a modest 3-bedroom house in suburban Ohio. Dad worked at the GM plant. Mom stayed home with us kids until Derek started school, then took a part-time job at the local library. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor either, solidly middle class. Soccer practices and piano lessons. Family dinners every night at 6. Church on Sundays. From the outside, we looked perfect. But inside those walls, there was an unspoken hierarchy. A set of rules that governed who deserved what and why. I learned early that I was supposed to be the responsible one, the example, the one who did everything right so my younger siblings would know how to do it too. When I brought home a B+ in 7th grade math, Dad sat me down for a serious talk about how Amanda and Derek were watching me, learning from me. If I slacked off, they'd think it was okay to slack off too. When I made the honor roll, there was no celebration, just an expectation that I'd make it again next quarter. When I got my driver's license on the first try, Mom mentioned that I'd need to help drive Amanda and Derek to their activities now. When I got accepted to Ohio State with a partial scholarship, the family discussion wasn't about my achievement, but about how we'd pay for what the scholarship didn't cover. I worked 3 jobs through college. Morning shift at a coffee shop, afternoons in the library, weekends at a retail store. I graduated with a degree in business analytics and $30,000 in student loans. Not terrible, but enough that I'd be paying them off for years. Amanda, on the other hand, decided college wasn't for her. She worked at the mall for a while, then quit to pursue her dream of becoming a yoga instructor. That lasted 6 months before she decided she wanted to be a personal chef. That lasted 4 months before she decided she wanted to be a life coach. She was now, at 29, working part-time at a boutique and still living in her apartment that Mom and Dad helped pay for. Whenever I suggested that maybe Amanda needed to find something stable, something with benefits and a retirement plan, Mom would get defensive. Not everyone is cut out for corporate life, Marcus. Amanda is creative. She needs freedom to find herself. Derek, the baby, had bounced between community college and various warehouse jobs. He was a good kid, but lacked direction. He'd moved out at 24, then moved back in at 25 when his roommate situation fell apart. He'd moved out again at 26, then back in at 27 when he lost his job. The cycle repeated. Now, at 26, he was in his own place again, working at a gym and talking about maybe going back to school or maybe becoming a personal trainer or maybe starting a landscaping business with his buddy Chad. Derek needs time to find his passion, Mom always said. Not everyone knows what they want to be at 22 like you did. I didn't know what I wanted to be at 22. I'd just known what I needed to be, financially independent. I'd been desperate to shed the weight of expectation, to build a life where my value wasn't determined by how well I could perform my assigned role. The financial help had started innocuously enough. 4 years ago, Dad's hours at the plant were cut during a slow season. Money was tight. Mom called me in tears one night. They were going to lose the car, she said. The car she needed to get to work. What would they do? I'd just gotten my promotion. My first real, substantial salary. I'd looked at my bank account and thought, I can help just this once. Just this once became monthly car payments. Then Amanda's credit card got maxed out. She'd charged a bunch of inventory for her life coaching business. Motivational books she'd planned to resell at a markup, a fancy printer for her certification materials that she never ended up getting, a professional camera for her Instagram content. The minimum payments were eating her alive. She called me crying. I made such a stupid mistake, Marcus. I just wanted to make something of myself. Can you help me get out of this hole? $300 a month to knock down her credit card debt. Then Derek's rent was coming up short. Then the family wanted better internet. Then. Each request came with justification, with promises. Just until I get back on my feet. Just until the overtime picks up. Just until the business takes off. None of it was temporary. It all became permanent. Woven into the fabric of my monthly budget so gradually that I'd barely noticed. But I'd noticed something else. The more I gave, the less I received. Not financially, I didn't need their money, but emotionally. The more indispensable I made myself to their financial well-being, the less they seemed to value me as a person. Phone calls were about bills and money, not about how I was doing. Visits home involved requests and subtle guilt trips about what they needed. Family gatherings included comments about my fancy lifestyle and my easy job, and how nice it must be to have money to spare. When I tried to set boundaries, suggesting that Amanda needed to find a full-time job, or that Derek should move back home to save money, I was accused of being heartless, of not understanding how hard things were for everyone else, of forgetting where I came from. Just because you got lucky doesn't mean you should look down on the rest of us, Dad had said last Christmas. Lucky, as if the 70-hour work weeks and the sacrificed social life and the constant hustle had nothing to do with it. As if I just stumbled into success while eating bonbons on my couch. But I'd swallowed my frustration because they were family. Because you don't abandon family. Because surely they knew, deep down, that I was doing this out of love. Now, sitting in my apartment with my phone exploding with condemnation, I realized they didn't know. Or worse, they didn't care. The missed calls started at 5:47 p.m. I'd spent the afternoon documenting everything, every payment I'd made over the past 4 years, every text message requesting money, every promise that it was just temporary. I'd created a spreadsheet that would make my financial advisor proud. Dates, amounts, categories, running totals. 4 years, $136,974. Over $136,000 I'd given to my family. Not loaned, given. There had never been any talk of paying me back. It was just expected that I'd provide. And in return, I'd been banned from Thanksgiving and called an idiot. I was downloading bank statements when the calls started coming in rapid succession. Mom, declined. Dad, declined. Amanda, declined. Mom again, declined. Derek, declined. Mom again. Amanda. Dad. My Aunt Carol. Derek. Mom. 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 I watched them roll in, each one a silent scream into the void. After the 15th call, I set my phone face down on the coffee table and tried to focus on my documentation. At 7:23 p.m., the banging started on my apartment door. Marcus, open this door, I know you're in there. Amanda's voice, shrill with panic. I sat frozen on my couch. She pounded again. Marcus, this isn't funny. You need to fix this right now. My neighbor's door opened. Mr. Patterson, a retired accountant who valued peace and quiet above all else. Miss, it's after 7 p.m. Some of us are trying to have a quiet evening. My brother is in there hiding like a coward. If he's not answering, he either isn't home or doesn't want to be disturbed. Either way, you need to leave before I call the building manager. More pounding. MARCUS. That's it, I'm calling Frank. Silence, then the sound of footsteps retreating down the hall. I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. My phone lit up. Amanda had figured out how to text bomb me, rapid-fire messages, each one popping up before I could dismiss the last. Amanda, I know you're there. Amanda, you're being ridiculous. Amanda, my credit card payment is due tomorrow. Amanda, I'm going to get hit with late fees. Amanda, I can't afford that. Amanda, why are you doing this? Amanda, what did I do to you? Amanda, Mom was right about you. Amanda, you're selfish. Amanda, you only care about yourself. Amanda, I should have known better than to depend on you. Amanda, answer Emmy. Then Derek, dude, what the hell? My rent check is going to bounce. Then Mom, Marcus Anthony Rivers, you call me right now. Then Dad, son, we need to talk about this like adults. Adults. That was rich, coming from people who'd orchestrated my exile based on gossip and assumptions. I opened my laptop and started drafting an email. If they wouldn't listen on the phone, maybe they'd read written words. To Mom, Dad, Amanda, Derek. Subject, regarding Thanksgiving and financial support. Dear family, asterisk. I've spent the past several hours trying to understand what I did to deserve being banned from Thanksgiving. Despite my repeated attempts to get an explanation, all I've received are vague accusations and second-hand rumors. Mom, you said Amanda told you everything, but when I asked what everything was, you mentioned that I ignored her request to talk 2 weeks ago. I didn't ignore her. She sent a non-urgent text asking to talk sometime. I responded the next day, and she never followed up. I had no way of knowing it was an emergency. Amanda, you said Mom told you I made disparaging comments about you. I made no such comments. I haven't spoken to Mom about you in months. I don't know where this information came from, but it didn't come from me. What I do know is this. I was banned from Thanksgiving, called an idiot, and condemned by my entire extended family without anyone once asking for my side of the story. This tells me something important about how little my character and integrity mean to you. If this is how family treats each other, with suspicion, assumption, and immediate judgment, then perhaps it's best that we reevaluate our relationships. Effective immediately, I'm discontinuing all financial support. This includes, asterisk. I pasted in the list of 8 automatic payments with the monthly amounts. This is not revenge. This is self-preservation. I cannot continue to support people who have so little faith in me that they'd believe the worst without asking for my perspective. If and when you're ready to have an actual conversation about what happened, one where you listen instead of accuse, I'm willing to talk. Until then, I need distance. Marcus. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. Once I sent this, there was no taking it back. This would be the official declaration of war, the burning of bridges, the point of no return. I thought about every family gathering, every birthday, every Christmas morning. I thought about Mom teaching me to ride a bike, Dad helping me with my math homework, Amanda and Derek, and I building blanket forts in the living room. I thought about the good times, the moments of genuine love and connection. But then I thought about this afternoon, about that text, about the assumption of guilt, about every family member piling on without a single person stopping to say, "Wait, maybe we should hear from Marcus first." I hit send. The response was immediate. My phone started ringing within 30 seconds. "Mom," I let it go to voicemail. Another call, "Dad." "Amanda." "Derek." "Mom again." Text messages flooded in, but these were different. The anger was gone, replaced by panic. "Mom, Marcus, please, let's talk about this." "Dad, son, don't be hasty." "Amanda, wait, you're cutting me off completely." "Derek, bro, come on." "Mom, you can't just abandon your family asterisk." "Dad, we can work this out." "Amanda, I'll have no way to make my payments." "Derek, my rent is due in 3 days." "Mom, Marcus, please pick up." "Mom, I think there's been a misunderstanding." That last one almost made me laugh. Almost. I turned off my phone completely and put it in my bedroom drawer. Then I poured myself 2 fingers of scotch, the expensive bottle I saved for special occasions, and sat on my balcony watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The temperature had dropped with the sunset, and I could see my breath in the air. Somewhere out there, families were planning their Thanksgiving menus, shopping for ingredients, making travel arrangements. Somewhere out there, people were excited to gather with their loved ones. And here I was, alone, having just nuked every familial relationship I had. But for the first time in years, I felt light, unburdened, free. The chains, I hadn't even realized, I'd been wearing had finally broken. Part 4, radio silence. I didn't turn my phone back on until Thursday morning, 2 full days of silence. Part of me worried about emergencies, but a larger part recognized that if there were a real emergency, they'd find a way to reach me through work or my building manager. The lack of either meant no one was in the hospital or dying. They just wanted their money. When I finally powered up my phone, it took a full 3 minutes for all the notifications to load. 87 missed calls, over 200 text messages, 15 voicemails, 12 emails. I made coffee first, strong and black. Then I settled into my couch and started with the voicemails, oldest to newest. Voicemail 1, Mom, Tuesday 8:43 p.m. asterisk. "Marcus, honey, please pick up. I think we need to talk about this. There's been some confusion and," her voice cracked, "please call me back." Voicemail 2, Dad, Tuesday 9:17 p.m. asterisk. "Son, your mother is very upset. I know you're angry, but cutting off the payments isn't the answer. We can sit down as a family and work through whatever this is. Call me back." Voicemail 3, Amanda, Tuesday 9:52 p.m. asterisk. "Marcus, okay, I get it. You're mad. But you're going to screw up my credit over this. Over what? A stupid misunderstanding. That's really low, even for you. Call me back before my payment is due." Even for me, as if I made a habit of being low. Voicemail 4, Derek, Tuesday 10:33 p.m. asterisk. "Dude, seriously, I didn't even do anything. Why am I getting punished? Call me back." Voicemail 5, Mom, Tuesday 11:15 p.m. asterisk. "Marcus Anthony Rivers, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this behavior is unacceptable. You don't abandon family over a little disagreement. We raised you better than this. Her voice hardened. You need to restore those payments and apologize for this tantrum. There it was. Tantrum. Because setting boundaries is childish, apparently. Voicemail 6 Amanda, Wednesday 6:47 asterisk. My credit card payment bounced. Do you have any idea what this is going to do to my credit score? I have late fees now. You need to fix this today, Marcus. This is seriously messed up. Voicemail 7 Derek, Wednesday 8:22 asterisk. So my rent check is going to bounce. My landlord is going to charge me a fee. Plus I'll probably lose my apartment. Thanks a lot, bro. Real nice. Voicemail 8 Dad, Wednesday 9:15 asterisk. Marcus, I read your email. I understand you're upset, but you're blowing this out of proportion. Your mother may have been harsh, but she was hurt. Amanda was very upset about you ignoring her, and your mother was defending her daughter. That's what mothers do. You're taking this all too personally. Too personally. Being banned from Thanksgiving is not personal. Voicemail 9 Mom, Wednesday 11:43 asterisk. Sobbing, barely coherent. How could you do this to us? After everything we've done for you? We raised you, we loved you, we supported you, and this is how you repay us. By abandoning us when we need you most. What kind of son does that? I had to pause the voicemail. My hand was shaking, coffee sloshing in my mug. What kind of son does that? What kind of mother bans her son from Thanksgiving via text without an explanation? Voicemail 10, Aunt Carol, Wednesday 2:18 p.m. asterisk. Marcus, I don't know what's going on with you and your parents, but I just heard that you've cut them off financially and I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked. Your mother is beside herself. Whatever disagreement you have, you handle it like an adult, not by punishing them financially. I'm very disappointed in you. The remaining voicemails followed the same patterns. Mom crying, Dad trying to be reasonable while subtly blaming me, Amanda angry about her credit, Derek worried about his rent, and various extended family members weighing in with their disappointment. Not a single person asked why I'd done it, not one. The text messages were more of the same, but the emails were interesting. Mom had sent 5, each one progressively more desperate. Email 1, Tuesday 8:35 p.m. asterisk. Subject, please call asterisk. Marcus, I don't understand why you're doing this. Can we please just talk? Love, Mom asterisk. Asterisk email 2, Wednesday 7:22 m. asterisk. Subject, the payments. Marcus, I know you're angry, but people are going to have financial consequences because of your decision. Amanda's credit, Derek's rent, our car. These are serious things. You can be mad at me without punishing everyone else. Please reconsider. Mom asterisk. Email 3, Wednesday 2:47 p.m. asterisk. Subject, we need to talk. Marcus asterisk. I've been thinking about everything, and I realize there may have been some miscommunication. Perhaps I was too hasty in what I said on Tuesday. Can we please meet and discuss this face-to-face, as a family? Your father and I are willing to drive to you this weekend, if you're willing to sit down with us. Mom asterisk. Email 4, Wednesday 9:33 p.m. asterisk. Subject, I'm sorry. Marcus asterisk. I'm sorry for how I handled things. I was upset and I said things I shouldn't have said. You're not banned from Thanksgiving. Of course you're not. I was just angry and I lashed out. Please turn your payments back on. People are panicking. We can work through this. Mom asterisk. Email 5, Thursday 6:15 m. asterisk. Subject, please. Marcus asterisk. It's been 2 days and you haven't responded to anyone. We're all very worried. Please just let us know you're okay. And please, please reconsider the payments. Derek might lose his apartment. Amanda's credit is ruined. We might lose the car. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. But please don't hurt everyone else because of what I did. Mom asterisk. I read that last email 3 times. It was the closest thing to accountability I'd gotten, but even it missed the point. She was sorry for being hasty, sorry for lashing out. But was she sorry for believing I'd badmouthed Amanda without asking me first? Sorry for rallying the family against me? Sorry for assuming the worst about my character? And the focus was still on the money, on the consequences they were facing, not on the hurt they'd caused, but on the hurt they were experiencing. I opened a new email and began to type. To Mom. Subject, Ray, please. Mom asterisk. I'm physically fine, though emotionally exhausted from this entire situation. I appreciate the apology, but I think you're missing the bigger picture. This isn't about you lashing out or being hasty with one text message. This is about a pattern of behavior and a fundamental breakdown in how our family relates to one another. Let me be clear about what happened from my perspective. Asterisk. 1. Amanda sent me a nonspecific text asking to talk sometime. I responded the next day. She never followed up. I had no way of knowing it was urgent. Asterisk 2. You called me, already convinced I'd done something wrong, and refused to hear my explanation. You told me I was banned from Thanksgiving and hung up. Asterisk 3. You, Amanda, Derek, Dad, and multiple extended family members sent me condemning messages, all based on assumptions and second-hand information. Not one person asked for my side. Asterisk 4. I discovered that Amanda apparently told you I'd said disparaging things about her, things I never said. No one verified this with me. The financial support was my choice, and I was happy to help when I thought I was supporting a family that valued and respected me. But what I've learned is that I'm not a family member to you all. I'm a resource. A ATM machine that's expected to dispense money without complaint, while receiving none of the consideration and benefit of doubt that family members should give each other. You say Derek might lose his apartment and Amanda's credit is ruined. Let me offer some perspective. Asterisk. Derek is 26 years old. He has a job. If he can't afford his rent, he should move somewhere cheaper or get a roommate or move back home. The way most 26-year-olds handle their finances. Amanda is 29. Her credit problems are the result of her own financial decisions. She charged thousands of dollars on a credit card for business ventures that never materialized. That's not my responsibility to fix. You and Dad have 2 incomes. If the car payment is a problem, you can downsize to a cheaper vehicle or adjust your budget. This is what adults do. I've been subsidizing everyone's lifestyle for 4 years, and somehow I'm the villain for stopping. Here's what I need from you, from all of you, if we're going to move forward. Asterisk 1. A real apology that acknowledges the actual harm done, not just regret about the consequences. Asterisk 2. An explanation about where Amanda's accusations came from. Asterisk 3. Acknowledgement from each family member that they condemned me without due process. Asterisk 4. A family meeting where we establish healthy boundaries and expectations. Until those things happen, I need space. I won't be restoring the payments, and I won't be attending Thanksgiving. That's not punishment, it's self-preservation. Marcus. I read it over 3 times before hitting send. Each time I questioned whether I was being too harsh, too unforgiving, too cold. But then I remembered that text. You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot. I hit send. The response to my email came faster than I expected. Within an hour, Dad called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Marcus, his voice was tired. Thank you for explaining. I think I'm starting to understand. I waited. Your mother is not handling this well. She's realized some things about how we've treated you, about how we've taken you for granted. And I kept my voice neutral. And she wants to meet all of us this Saturday. We'll come to you. There's a diner near your place, right? That one you took us to last time. Rosie's. Right, Rosie's. Can we meet there? Noon, all 5 of us. Has Amanda agreed to this? A pause. She will. That's not the same thing. Marcus, please, your mother is a wreck. Amanda is. Difficult, but she'll come. Derek, too. We need to sit down and clear the air. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to refuse, to make them work harder for reconciliation. But another part, the part that still remembered Dad teaching me to throw a baseball, that remembered family game nights and inside jokes, that part was tired of fighting. Saturday, noon. But Dad, I mean what I said in my email. This isn't a negotiation about the money. This is about whether we can function as a family that respects each other. I understand, son. We'll be there. The line went dead, and I sat in my apartment wondering if I was making a mistake. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. I woke at 7, too anxious to sleep any longer. I went for a run, 6 miles through the city streets, pushing myself harder than usual, trying to burn off the nervous energy coiling in my stomach. By 10, I'd showered, dressed in dark jeans and a button-down shirt, casual but not too casual, and made myself eggs I couldn't eat. I pushed them around my plate while scrolling through my phone, rereading the text messages from the past few days. There had been a shift in tone after my second email. The demands had stopped. The anger had cooled. In its place was something that looked like understanding, or maybe just fear. Fear that they'd pushed too far, that the ATM had finally decided to pack up and leave. At 11:30, I walked the 3 blocks to Rosie's Diner. It was one of those old-school places with red vinyl booths and a jukebox in the corner that actually worked. The waitress, Dolers, knew me by name. I came here most Sunday mornings for their pancakes and terrible coffee. Your usual table, honey, she asked when I walked in. Actually, I'm meeting my family. Can we get the big booth in the back? Her eyes lit up. Family, that's wonderful. I'll get it set up for you. I slid into the booth at 11:45, ordering coffee I didn't need and trying to calm my racing heart. Through the window, I watched the street, waiting for them to arrive. They came at 11:58, all 4 of them walking together from the parking lot. Mom had her arm linked through Dad's. Amanda walked slightly ahead, arms crossed. Derek trailed behind, hands in his pockets. I watched them approach, these people who'd shaped my entire existence. Mom looked smaller than I remembered, her shoulders hunched against the cold. Dad looked older, gray showing at his temples that I hadn't noticed before. Amanda looked defensive, her jaw set. Derek just looked uncomfortable. The bell above the door chimed as they entered. Mom spotted me immediately. Our eyes met across the diner, and I saw her face crumble for just a moment before she composed herself. They made their way to the booth. There was an awkward shuffle as everyone figured out where to sit. Eventually, Mom and Dad slid in across from me, with Amanda and Derek flanking me on either side. Dolers appeared with her notepad. Coffee all around. Everyone nodded. She poured, the silence stretching out uncomfortably. I'll give you folks a few minutes with the menus. As soon as she left, Mom spoke. Marcus. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and her voice cracked on my name. Baby, I'm so sorry. I gripped my coffee mug, but said nothing. I was wrong about everything. About how I handled the situation with Amanda, about what I said to you, about... She pressed her napkin to her eyes. About taking you for granted. Dad put his hand over hers. We all were. Wrong, I mean. I looked at Amanda. She was studying the menu intently, her jaw clenched. Amanda, I said quietly, what did you tell Mom about me? She didn't look up. I was upset. That's not an answer. She finally met my eyes, and I saw something there. Shame, maybe. I told her you didn't care about me. That when I reached out, you blew me off because you were too busy with your important life. I responded to your text the next day. You never called me. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I know that now. I was going through something and I needed to talk to someone, and when you didn't immediately jump to help, I took it personally. I vented to Mom and I may have exaggerated, made it sound worse than it was. What were you going through? I asked. What was so urgent? She looked at Mom, then back at me. I lost my job. The boutique let me go. I was panicking about money and how I was going to make my payments, and I wanted to ask you for help, but I felt bad about it because I always ask you for help, and I was embarrassed, so I just sent that vague text hoping you'd call and I could ease into it. When you didn't call immediately, I decided it meant you didn't care. I absorbed this. So you told Mom I was disrespectful and said mean things about you. No, I never said you said anything mean. I just said you didn't care, that you were too wrapped up in your own life. She paused. Mom was the one who said you must have been talking badly about me. She assumed. All eyes turned to Mom. She looked down at her coffee. I filled in the blanks. Amanda was so hurt and I just assumed. I thought. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face now. I'm your mother. I'm supposed to protect all my children. When Amanda was hurting, I wanted someone to blame, and you were an easy target because you weren't there. Because you're successful and busy and you don't need us the way they do. So you decided I was the villain. Yes, the word came out as a sob. And I was wrong, so wrong I didn't even ask, I just reacted. You banned me from Thanksgiving and called me an idiot via text message. I know. You turned the entire family against me. I know. You made me feel like I was worthless, like nothing I'd done for this family over the years mattered. Mom covered her face with both hands, her shoulders shaking. Dad wrapped his arm around her. Derek spoke up for the first time. For what it's worth, I thought it was messed up. The whole thing. I tried to tell Mom that we should at least hear your side, but... He trailed off with a shrug. But you still sent me an angry text about it. Yeah, that was wrong. I'm sorry, man. I just went along with everyone else. I turned to Dad. And you? He sighed heavily. I should have been the voice of reason. Should have pumped the brakes and made sure we understood the whole situation before anyone said anything. But I didn't. I let your mother's pain override my judgment, and I let you get hurt in the process. I'm sorry, son. Dollars reappeared. You folks ready to order? We weren't. We ordered anyway, comfort food, the kind of stuff Mom used to make when we were kids. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Chicken and waffles. Burgers. Food we could hide behind while having hard conversations. When Dollars left, I leaned back in the booth. I appreciate the apologies, I do. But here's what I need you all to understand. I didn't cut off the payments to punish you. I cut them off because I realized I'd become an enabler. Amanda flinched at the word. For 4 years, I've been subsidizing everyone's lifestyle. And I'm not saying I didn't choose to do it, I did. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being help and started being expected, required. And when I became just a source of money instead of a family member deserving of respect and trust, that's when I knew it had to stop. You're right, Mom said quietly. You're absolutely right. Amanda, you're 29 years old. You've had 6 different jobs in the past 3 years. Every time something doesn't work out, you start over with something new, and I've been cushioning the falls. But I haven't been helping you. I've been preventing you from learning how to support yourself. Amanda's lip trembled. I know, I'm a mess. I can't keep anything together. You're not a mess. You're just untested. You've never had to truly struggle because someone has always caught you. What am I supposed to do now? My credit is destroyed. I have late fees. I can't. You figure it out, I said, not unkindly. The way millions of other people figure it out. You get a full-time job, any job, and you pay your bills. You stop chasing dreams that don't pay and you build something stable. Once you have stability, then you can pursue passion projects on the side. She looked like I'd slapped her. So I should just give up on everything I want. I'm saying you should build a foundation first. You're trying to live like someone who's already successful when you haven't put in the groundwork. Dad nodded slowly. He's right, Amanda. We've been too easy on you. Derek, I continued, you're in a similar boat. You're 26 with no clear direction. Every time you run into trouble, you either move back home or I bail you out. What's your plan? He shifted uncomfortably. I don't know, man. I'm still figuring it out. That's fine, but figure it out on your own dime, not mine. If you can't afford your rent, get a roommate. Pick up extra shifts. Live below your means until you have your feet under you. What if I can't make it? Then you move back home. That's what home is for. It's a safety net, not a launching pad for an unsustainable lifestyle. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. We can make room, Dad said, if it comes to that. Our food arrived, providing a brief respite from the intensity. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The diner clattered around us, dishes clanking, conversations buzzing, the jukebox playing something old and melancholy. Finally, Mom spoke again. What would it take for you to come back to us? Not financially, I mean as a family. I'd been thinking about this for days. Boundaries, real ones. I need to know that my value to this family isn't tied to what I can provide materially. I need to know that when problems come up, we talk about them instead of making assumptions. I need to know that you see me as more than a solution to your financial problems. You are, she said urgently. You're my son, my firstborn. I love you more than, her voice broke. I know you love me, Mom, but love isn't enough if there's no respect, no trust. And the way you all came at me without even asking my side showed me that whatever trust existed was conditional. How do we rebuild it? Dad asked. Time, consistency, following through on what you say you're going to do, and therapy probably, family therapy. If everyone's willing. Amanda made a face. Therapy. Yes, therapy. We're clearly dysfunctional in ways we can't see or fix on our own. We need help. That's expensive, Mom said automatically, then caught herself. But we'll figure it out, if that's what it takes. And Thanksgiving, Derek asked. Are you coming? I set down my fork. No. Mom's face fell. Not this year, I clarified. This year, I need space. I need to prove to myself that I can exist outside this family dynamic without feeling guilty about it. But maybe Christmas, if we've made progress. Progress how? Amanda asked. I want to see you all standing on your own feet. Amanda with a stable job. Derek in housing he can actually afford. Mom and Dad managing their own finances. And I want to see all of you in family therapy, at least one session before Christmas. That's a lot of demands, Amanda said, an edge in her voice. They're not demands, they're boundaries. You can choose not to meet them, and that's fine, but then we stay where we are, distant. The table fell silent. I could see them processing, weighing, calculating. Finally, Mom spoke. We'll do it, all of it, whatever it takes to have you back in our lives. I'll look for a full-time job, Amanda said quietly. A real one, with benefits. And I'll find a roommate for my place, Derek added. Make it affordable. Dad reached across the table, his hand open. I looked at it for a long moment, that hand that had taught me to tie my shoes, that had clapped me on the back at my graduation, that had shaken mine when I'd gotten my first real job. I took it. We've got a lot of work to do, I said. We do, Dad agreed. But we're family, we'll figure it out. The Saturday meeting at Rosie's wasn't a magical fix. If anything, it was just the opening bell of a much longer, harder fight. But it was a start. The following Monday, I got a text from Amanda. Amanda had a job interview today. Office manager position at a dental practice. Boring but stable. Wish me luck. Me, good luck. Let me know how it goes. Amanda, thank you. And Marcus, I really am sorry for all of it. Me, I know. We'll get through it. Tuesday, Derek sent me a photo of a roommate wanted ad he'd posted online. By Thursday, he had 3 potential candidates lined up to look at the place. Wednesday, Mom emailed me a list of family therapists in their area, asking if any of them looked reputable. I spent my lunch break researching them and sent her my top 3 recommendations. Friday, I got a call from Dad. Your mother and I are selling the SUV, he said without preamble. What? The car payment you were covering. We don't need a vehicle that expensive. We're trading it in for something we can afford on our own. I sat down at my desk, phone pressed to my ear, genuinely shocked. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, we do. You were right about all of it, Marcus. We've been living beyond our means and expecting you to make up the difference. That stops now. I appreciate that. There's something else. He paused, and I could hear him breathing. I picked up some overtime shifts at the plant, and your mother is looking at full-time positions at some of the schools in the area. Better pay than the library. How do you feel about that? Honestly, a little embarrassed that it took my son refusing to enable us for us to figure out how to be adults again. He laughed, but it was tinged with sadness. We raised you to be independent and responsible, and then we turned around and became dependent and irresponsible ourselves. Funny how that works. You're not irresponsible, Dad. You just got comfortable. Comfortable on your dime, but not anymore. We talked for another 20 minutes, just talking, not about money or problems, but about his work and my work and the Bengals game last Sunday. It felt normal. It felt good. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called my best friend from college, Jason, and told him everything. Dude, he said when I finished, that's insane. Are you okay? I think so. It's weird. I feel guilty for cutting them off, but also relieved. Like I've been holding my breath for years and I finally let it out. That's because you were being suffocated. Family is great, but boundaries are necessary. Otherwise, it's just entanglement. When did you become so wise? Therapy, my friend. Lots and lots of therapy. He paused. Speaking of which, are you talking to anyone? Because this is heavy stuff. I've been thinking about it. Do more than think. You've been in survival mode for so long, you probably don't even realize how much damage you've been carrying. He was right. The following Monday, I made an appointment with a therapist, Dr. Patricia Chen, a specialist in family dynamics and codependency. Our first session was that Wednesday. Tell me about your family, she said, pen poised over her notebook. I told her everything. The childhood expectations, the gradual financial entanglement, the Thanksgiving text, the cutoff, the meeting at Rosie's. She listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or making notes. When I finished, She set down her pen and looked at me directly. Marcus, do you know what parentification is? No. It's when a child is forced to take on parental responsibilities, often emotionally, but sometimes financially. The child becomes the caretaker, the responsible one, the person everyone depends on. It's a form of role reversal that can be very damaging. But my parents didn't force me. Didn't they? She leaned forward. From what you've told me, you learned very early that your value in the family was tied to being responsible, being successful, being the one who had it together. That's a heavy burden for a child. And then, when you became an adult with resources, that childhood role simply evolved. Now you weren't just emotionally responsible for the family, you were financially responsible too. I sat with that for a moment. So what do I do? You're already doing it. You're setting boundaries. You're refusing to continue in a role that was never yours to play. Now the work is in healing the wounds that role created and learning how to be in relationship with your family without defaulting to caretaker mode. We spent the rest of the session unpacking my childhood, looking at patterns I'd never noticed. By the time I left, my head was spinning, but something felt lighter. Over the next few weeks, I watched my family members struggle and adapt. It wasn't pretty, and there were moments when I wanted to swoop in and fix things. But I didn't. Amanda didn't get the dental office job. She got something better, an administrative assistant position at a marketing firm with room for growth. She called me, excited, talking a mile a minute about benefits and vacation days and a 401k. They actually want me to be there long-term, she said. Wonder in her voice. Like, they're investing in training me. No one's ever done that before. That's because you've never stayed anywhere long enough to let them, I said gently. I know, but this time is different. It has to be. Derek found a roommate, Chad, the same friend he'd talked about starting a landscaping business with. They split the rent, and Derek picked up extra hours at the gym teaching spin classes. It's actually pretty great, he told me over coffee one Saturday. Chad and I are saving up to actually start that business now, but doing it right this time, business plan, startup capital, the whole thing. How long until you have enough saved? 2 years, maybe, which seems like forever, but you know what? It feels good to have a plan, a real one. Mom got a full-time job as a school secretary at the local middle school. Dad's overtime hours meant they were actually building savings for the first time in years. They sold the SUV and bought a 3-year-old sedan that they owned outright. We should have done this years ago, Mom admitted during one of our weekly phone calls, a new tradition we'd started. We feel more secure now than we have in a long time. Isn't that strange? We have less help, but we feel more stable. That's not strange at all, I said. That's how it's supposed to work. The family started therapy in mid-November, 2 sessions before Thanksgiving, which they celebrated without me. I spent the day volunteering at a soup kitchen and then had dinner with Jason and his family. It was nice, quiet, drama-free. Mom texted me a photo of the dinner table, conspicuously empty chair where I usually sat. Mom, missing you today, but respecting your boundaries. Hopefully next year. Me hopefully. Enjoy your day. Love you. Mom, love you too, baby, so much. It was enough. December arrived with snow and the kind of bitter cold that makes you question why anyone lives in Ohio. But with it came something else. Progress. Amanda had been at her job for 6 weeks and hadn't quit. Derek had been living with his roommate for a month with no drama. Mom and Dad had attended 4 family therapy sessions and were working through their own issues about money and self-worth. And I had been in individual therapy, slowly untangling the complicated knots of guilt and responsibility and identity that had been tied around me since childhood. Dr. Chen and I talked a lot about enmeshment, how my identity had become so wrapped up in being the family's provider and problem solver that I'd lost sight of who I was outside of that role. "Who is Marcus when he's not taking care of everyone else?" she'd asked in our 6th session. I didn't have an answer. That was the problem. So I spent December figuring it out. I started painting again, something I'd loved in college but had abandoned because I didn't have time. I joined a recreational basketball league. I went on a few dates with a woman named Rachel I'd met at a work conference. Nothing serious, but it was nice to connect with someone who knew nothing about my family drama. I also started tracking my finances differently. For 4 years, I'd essentially had 2 budgets, mine and the family's. Now, with the family obligations gone, I was shocked at how much money I actually had. My financial advisor was thrilled. "Marcus, do you realize that if you invest this extra $3,000 per month with your current portfolio, you could retire 5 years early? Maybe more." I stared at the projections she'd created. Early retirement, travel, freedom, all possible because I'd stopped funding other people's lives. It should have felt good. It did feel good. But it also felt strange, like I'd been running a race my entire life and someone had suddenly canceled it. What was I racing toward now? The week before Christmas, Mom called. "So," she said, and I could hear the nervousness in her voice. "I know we said we'd see how things were going by Christmas, and I don't want to pressure you, but we're having Christmas Eve dinner at the house, just the 5 of us. Small, quiet, no extended family, no drama. Would you consider coming?" I looked out my apartment window at the city lights. Somewhere down there, families were preparing for the holidays. Hanging stockings, wrapping presents, baking cookies. All the rituals I'd grown up with, all the traditions that were supposed to mean something. "Have you all been keeping up with therapy?" I asked. "Yes, every week. Dr. Morrison says we're making good progress. And everyone is managing their own finances." "Yes. Actually, Derek paid off his first credit card last week. He was so proud of himself." I smiled at that. And Amanda? Still employed, still showing up. She's even gotten a small raise already. Her boss says she's the most organized assistant they've ever had. "What about you and Dad?" We're okay, Marcus, really okay. We have our own money troubles to work through, but they're ours now. We're not leaning on you, not financially, not emotionally. We're standing on our own feet." She paused. "But we miss you. The house feels empty without you." I closed my eyes. "What time on Christmas Eve?" 6 o'clock, dinner at 7. She sounded like she was crying. "You'll come." "I'll come, but Mom, I need you to promise me something." "Anything." No money conversations, no requests for help, no guilt trips about the past, just dinner, just family time with no agenda. "I promise, Scout's honor." "You were never a Scout." "Then Mother's honor, which is even more binding." I laughed despite myself. "Okay, I'll see you Christmas Eve." When I hung up, I felt an odd mixture of anticipation and dread. This would be the first time we'd all been together since that meeting at Rosie's in November. 5 weeks of separation, 5 weeks of everyone working on themselves. Would it be enough? Christmas Eve arrived clear and cold. I drove the 2 hours to my hometown, watching the landscape shift from city to suburb to rural. The house I'd grown up in looked exactly the same, a modest 2-story with a wreaths on the door and lights strung along the gutters. I sat in my car for a moment, gathering my courage. Then I grabbed the bag of presents from the passenger seat and walked to the door. It opened before I could knock. Derek stood there, grinning. "You came." I said I would. I know, but he pulled me into a hug. I wasn't sure you'd actually do it. Inside, the house smelled like it always did during the holidays. Pine from the tree, cinnamon from whatever Mom was baking, and that indefinable scent of home that every house has. Mom emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. When she saw me, she froze. Then she rushed forward, and I found myself wrapped in the kind of hug only mothers can give, fierce and gentle and full of a year's worth of unspoken apologies. "You're here," she whispered. "You're really here." "I'm here." Dad appeared from the living room, and I shook his hand, then hugged him too. Amanda came down the stairs, looking nervous. "Hey," she said. "Hey." We stood there awkwardly for a moment, then she stepped forward and hugged me quickly. "Glad you came." "Me too." Dinner was strange at first, everyone overly polite, carefully avoiding any topics that might cause conflict. We talked about work safe, the weather very safe, and Derek's roommate Chad's obsession with making his own kombucha weird but safe. But gradually, as we ate Mom's pot roast and Dad's famous mashed potatoes, the conversation became more natural. Amanda told a funny story about a chaotic day at her office. Derek showed us photos of business logo ideas he and Chad were working on. Mom and Dad talked about their plans to finally renovate the bathroom they'd been complaining about for years. No one mentioned money. No one asked for help. We were just a family eating dinner, sharing stories. After dinner, we moved to the living room for presents. I'd agonized over what to get everyone. Too expensive would send the wrong message. Too cheap would seem petty. I'd finally settled on thoughtful rather than expensive. For Mom, a framed photo of all of us from my college graduation, with an inscription on the back. "Thank you for everything. Here's to new chapters." For Dad, a book about financial planning that my advisor had recommended, with a note, "Proud of the work you're doing." For Amanda, a leather-bound planner and a gift card to Office Depot, with a card that said, "For the most organized assistant in the city." For Derek, a small business planning workbook and a nice pen with a note, "For when you're ready to make it official." They got me presents too. Nothing expensive. A nice sweater from Mom and Dad, a book I'd mentioned wanting from Amanda, a gift certificate to the painting supply store from Derek. "How did you know I was painting again?" I asked Derek. He grinned. "I follow you on Instagram, dude. Your work is actually pretty good." After presents, we sat around the tree, mugs of hot chocolate in hand, and fell into a comfortable silence. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, that feels peaceful rather than awkward. "Marcus," Mom said finally, "I need to say something." My stomach tensed. "You were right about all of it. We did take you for granted. We did use you, and we broke your trust in the worst possible way." She looked around at Dad, Amanda, and Derek. "But you gave us a gift when you cut us off." "A gift?" I raised an eyebrow. "You forced us to grow up, to take responsibility for ourselves, to figure out how to stand on our own feet. These past 2 months have been hard, really hard, but we're better for it. All of us are." Dad nodded. I was embarrassed at first, felt like a failure for not being able to provide for my family without my son's help. But then I realized you were never supposed to be providing for us. That was my job, our job, and we'd abdicated it. "I didn't realize how much I was using you as a safety net until it was gone," Amanda added. "And it was terrifying, but it was also freeing. Like, I know now that I can take care of myself. I don't have to depend on anyone." "And dude," Derek said, "I was so mad at you at first, like genuinely furious. But then I had to figure my shit out and I realized I actually could. I just never had to before." I felt tears prickling at my eyes. I didn't want to hurt you all. I just couldn't keep being who I was being. We know, Mom said, and we're grateful, truly. We sat together for a long time, watching the lights on the tree blink in patterns. Outside, snow began to fall, big, fat flakes that caught the streetlight and looked like magic. So, I said eventually, tell me honestly, how's therapy going? They looked at each other, then Dad spoke. It's hard. Dr. Morrison doesn't let us get away with anything. She calls us out when we're making excuses or playing the victim or deflecting responsibility. But it's helping. We're learning to talk to each other differently, to see each other differently. We talked a lot about you, Mom admitted. About how we made you the responsible one from such a young age. About how we put pressure on you that we shouldn't have. About how we took your success and turned it into an obligation. It wasn't all your fault, I said. I made choices too. I could have said no at any point. You could have. Dr. Chen had said the same thing in therapy. But saying no to family, especially when you've been trained since childhood that your worth comes from meeting their needs, is incredibly hard. The fact that you eventually did say no is huge. I don't want you to think we're healed, Amanda said. We're not. We're still works in progress, but we're trying, really trying. That's all I wanted, I said. Just effort, just acknowledgement that things needed to change. They did need to change, Mom said firmly. And they have, and they'll keep changing. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Derek laughed. Did Dr. Morrison teach you that? Shut up, smartass, but Mom was smiling. We stayed up late that night, later than we had in years. We played board games, Scrabble and Monopoly and Sorry. We laughed at Derek's terrible jokes and Amanda's competitive streak. We reminisced about old memories, good ones, not the complicated ones we dissected in therapy. At midnight, I stood to leave. You're not staying over, Mom asked, disappointment clear in her voice. Not tonight, but maybe next time. She hugged me tight. Next time, I'll hold you to that. As I drove home through the snow, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, hopeful. The road ahead was still uncertain. We had years of patterns to unlearn, boundaries to maintain, trust to rebuild. But for the first time, I believed we might actually do it. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Mom, thank you for coming tonight. It meant the world to all of us. Me, thank you for doing the work. I'm proud of you all. Mom, we're proud of you too. You saved this family by refusing to save us. Does that make sense? Me, perfect sense. Merry Christmas, Mom. Mom, Merry Christmas, baby. Drive safe. January arrived with its typical post-holiday blues, but this year felt different. Instead of dreading the return to routine, I found myself energized. I had my life back, not just from the family drama, but from the weight of expectation I'd been carrying for so long. My therapy sessions with Dr. Chen continued weekly. We'd moved beyond family dynamics and into deeper territory. What I wanted from life, what my values were, what kind of relationships I wanted to build. You've spent so much time being what others needed you to be, she said in one session. Now you get to figure out who you are when no one's asking anything of you. It was harder than I expected. Without the constant demands and drama, I felt almost adrift. Who was I if I wasn't solving problems? What did I enjoy when I wasn't on high alert for the next family crisis? The painting helped. I'd set up a small studio in my spare bedroom and spent evenings working on abstract pieces, bold colors, chaotic patterns, emotion made visible. It was cathartic in a way I hadn't anticipated. Rachel, the woman I'd been casually dating, saw my work and was impressed. These are intense, she said, studying a particularly turbulent piece. What's going on in your head when you make these? Processing, I guess. working through stuff. Stuff like the family drama you mentioned. We talked about it briefly. I'd given her the broad strokes without going into detail. She'd been sympathetic but hadn't pried. Yeah, among other things. She turned to look at me. You know, I've been wondering, are we dating, or are you just passing time until you figure your life out? The question caught me off guard. I don't know, both. She smiled sadly. That's what I thought. Look, Marcus, you're a great guy, but you're not ready for anything serious. You're still rebuilding yourself. And that's okay, I get it. But I need to know if I should keep waiting or move on. I wanted to tell her to wait. Wanted to promise that I'd figure things out soon. But that wouldn't be fair to either of us. I think I need more time, I admitted. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. I appreciate the honesty. She squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think you're going to be amazing once you figure out who you are. I'm just not sure I can wait around to see it. We parted amicably, and while it stung, it also felt right. Dr. Chen was right. I needed to figure out who Marcus was before I could share him with someone else. The family dynamics continued to evolve. Our weekly phone calls became a regular thing, Sunday evenings at 7. We'd talk for 30 minutes to an hour, everyone chiming in on speakerphone. It was chaotic and sometimes frustrating, but it was honest. Amanda got promoted in February, a small raise and more responsibilities, but she was thrilled. They said I'm exceeding expectations, she told us on one of our calls, pride evident in her voice. Me, exceeding expectations at something. That's because you're showing up, I said. Consistency is everything. I'm learning that. God, Marcus, I wasted so much time bouncing around. I could have had a career by now if I'd just committed to something. You can't change the past, Mom interjected, using what was clearly a line from therapy. You can only move forward from where you are now. Listen to you, quoting Dr. Morrison, Derek teased. She has a lot of wisdom, that woman. Derek and Chad officially registered their landscaping business in March. It's real now, Derek said, excitement bubbling over. We have an LLC, a business bank account, business cards. We're taking on our first clients in April. How do you feel? I asked. Terrified, but good terrified, you know. Like this could actually work terrified. That's the best kind. Mom and Dad's progress was slower but steady. They were learning to communicate about money without shame or blame. Dad had started seeing his own therapist to work through his feelings about masculinity and providing. Mom was working on her tendency to enable and rescue. It's strange, Mom said during one call. I defined myself as a mother for so long, as someone who fixed things for her children. Now I'm learning that the best thing I can do is let you all fix things for yourselves. That must be hard, I said. It's excruciating. Every instinct tells me to jump in and help. But then I remember what Dr. Morrison said. Help that creates dependency isn't help, it's control. She really doesn't pull punches, does she? No, she does not. In April, I made a decision. I was going to visit home. Not for a holiday or special occasion, just because. Just to see them, to spend time together without the weight of obligation or crisis. I drove down on a Saturday morning, arriving around noon. The house looked different in the spring sunlight, fresh, renewed. Mom had planted flowers in the front beds, and Dad had finally fixed the gutter that had been hanging loose for years. You're here, Mom said, opening the door before I could knock. She'd clearly been watching for me. I'm here. We spent the afternoon doing normal things. Dad and I went to the hardware store. He was building new shelves for the garage, and I helped him pick out materials. Mom and I made dinner together, falling into an easy rhythm of chopping and stirring. Amanda came over after her shift at work, and Derek showed up with Chad, who was surprisingly easy to get along with. We grilled burgers in the backyard and sat around the patio table as the sun set, talking and laughing. At one point, I looked around at all of them, my complicated, messy, imperfect family, and felt something click into place. This was what it was supposed to be. Not perfect, not problem-free, but real, honest, balanced. "What are you smiling about?" Amanda asked. "Nothing, just, this is nice." "It is, isn't it?" She looked around the table, too. "We should do this more often." "We should," Mom agreed. "Marcus, would you come down for dinner once a month, just casual like this?" I considered it. A month ago, I might have worried about overcommitment, about slipping back into old patterns. But looking at them now, I saw people who were doing the work, people who were respecting boundaries, people who were worthy of trust. "Yeah," I said, "I'd like that." Derek raised his beer. "To monthly family dinners." "To monthly family dinners," we echoed, clinking glasses. That night I stayed over, sleeping in my old bedroom, which Mom had converted into a guest room. The trophies and posters were gone, replaced by neutral colors and comfortable furniture. It was different, but not in a bad way, just evolved. Sunday morning, I had coffee with Dad on the back porch while everyone else slept in. "Can I ask you something?" he said, wrapping his hands around his mug. "Of course." "Do you think you'll ever fully forgive us for what we did?" I thought about it, really thought about it. I think forgiveness isn't a destination, it's a process. Some days I feel completely past it. Other days something will remind me of that text message, and I'll feel that same anger and hurt all over again. He nodded slowly. "That's fair. But I'm working on it, and seeing you all work on yourselves makes it easier. It's hard to hold a grudge against people who are genuinely trying to change." "We are trying, every day. Sometimes I still catch myself falling into old patterns, wanting to ask you for money, wanting to lean on you to solve problems. But then I remember what it cost us, and I stop myself. That awareness is everything, Dad. Your mother and I talk about it a lot, about how close we came to losing you, how we took the best thing in our lives, our kids, and almost destroyed those relationships because we were too proud to handle our own problems." He looked at me, eyes wet. "I'm so sorry, son, for all of it." "I know, Dad, I know." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun rise higher, burning off the morning dew. Birds sang in the trees, and somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Normal sounds, peaceful sounds. "For what it's worth," I said eventually, "I think we're going to be okay, all of us." "You really think so?" "Yeah, I do. We've done the hard part. We've acknowledged the problems and committed to fixing them. The rest is just showing up and doing the work." "Showing up and doing the work," Dad repeated. "I can do that." "I know you can." Part 9, The Reckoning. Life settled into a new normal over the next several months. I found a rhythm that worked: monthly visits home, weekly phone calls, occasional texts that were actually about life rather than crises. The family continued their therapy. I continued mine. We were all works in progress, but we were progressing. Then, in July, I got a phone call that threatened to upend everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I ignored it. Then came a voicemail. Then a text from Mom: "Call me when you can. Not an emergency, but important." I excused myself from the meeting and called her back. "Marcus, thank God. I didn't want to worry you, but I wanted you to hear this from me." My stomach dropped. "Hear what?" "Your Aunt Carol has been saying things about you, about the situation with Thanksgiving." "What kind of things?" She's telling people you abandoned the family, that you're cold and heartless, that you cut us off without warning and left us to struggle. She's making you sound like a villain. I laughed, but it was hollow. Of course she is. I told her she was wrong. I explained what really happened, how we mistreated you, how you were justified in your response. But she won't listen. She's convinced that you're in the wrong, and she's poisoning people against you. Who cares what Aunt Carol thinks? I care, Mom said fiercely. I care because she's spreading lies about my son, and I won't have it. I'm going to set the record straight with everyone. Mom, don't. It's not worth it. Yes, it is. You stood up for yourself when we failed you, and now it's my turn to stand up for you. I sat down at my desk, phone pressed to my ear, not sure how to feel. Part of me was touched by Mom's protectiveness. Part of me was tired of the whole thing. What do you want to do? I asked. I want to call a family meeting. Extended family. Everyone who was involved in condemning you back in November. I want to tell them the truth. Mom, it's necessary. You don't deserve to be vilified for setting boundaries. You don't deserve to have your character assassinated by people who don't know the whole story. And if they don't care, if they still think I'm the bad guy, then they're not worth having in our lives. That stopped me. Mom, who had always prioritized family harmony above all else, was willing to cut people off to defend me. Are you sure about this? I asked. I've never been more sure of anything. The family meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at Mom and Dad's house. I wasn't required to attend, Mom said, but I was welcome if I wanted to be there. I thought about it for days. Part of me wanted to stay away, to let Mom handle it without me. But another part, the part that was tired of being talked about rather than talked to, wanted to face them all. On Friday night, I called Dr. Chen for an emergency session. What do you want to get out of this meeting? She asked. I don't know, vindication, understanding, an apology. Are those things likely? Probably not. So why go? I thought about it. Because I'm tired of being the villain in their story. Even if they don't change their minds, I want them to hear my truth. From me, not filtered through anyone else. That's a good reason. But Marcus, you need to be prepared for the possibility that they won't hear you. That they'll double down on their version of events. Can you handle that? I think so. I've been handling it for months. You have. You're much stronger than you were in November. Saturday arrived clear and hot. I drove to my parents' house, my stomach tight with anxiety. Cars lined the street, Aunt Carol's sedan, Uncle Bob's truck, various cousins' vehicles. The whole extended family had shown up. Inside, the living room was packed. Aunt Carol sat on the couch, arms crossed, face set in disapproval. Uncle Bob stood by the fireplace, looking uncomfortable. Various cousins filled the other chairs and perches. Mom and Dad stood near the kitchen, Amanda and Derek flanking them. The room fell silent when I walked in. Marcus, Aunt Carol said coldly, how kind of you to join us. Carol, Mom said sharply, you will be respectful or you will leave. Aunt Carol's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me. You heard me. We're here to clear the air, not to continue attacking my son. I moved to stand with my immediate family. United front. Dad cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. Linda and I asked you here because there's been a lot of misunderstanding about what happened with Marcus and our family last November. We want to set the record straight. What's to understand? Uncle Bob said. He abandoned you when you needed him. No, Mom said firmly. He set boundaries when we took advantage of him. She told them everything. The years of financial support, the gradual entanglement, the Thanksgiving text, the assumptions and accusations, our own failings as parents and siblings. We broke his trust, Mom said, her voice breaking. We treated him like a resource instead of a person, and when he finally stood up for himself, we condemned him for it. We were wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. But family helps family, Aunt Carol protested. That's what family does. Help, yes, Dad said. But what we were doing wasn't help. It was dependency. We were adults acting like children, expecting our son to parent us. Marcus, Mom turned to me, do you want to say anything? All eyes turned to me. I felt my heart racing, my palms sweating. But I also felt something else, clarity. I loved helping you all, I said. I really did. It felt good to be able to support my family. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about love and started being about obligation, about expectation. And when I became nothing more than a paycheck to you, when my character and integrity mattered so little that you'd believe the worst about me without even asking, that's when I knew I had to stop. You could have talked to us, Aunt Carol said. Could I? I looked at her directly. When I was banned from Thanksgiving via text message, when I tried to call and explain and was ignored, when I sent emails laying out my perspective and was met with demands to restore the payments, when exactly was I supposed to have this conversation? Silence. I'll tell you what really hurt, I continued, my voice stronger now. It wasn't the text message, as awful as that was. It was that every single one of you, I looked around the room, every single one of you believed it, believed that I was capable of being cruel and disrespectful. After knowing me for 32 years, you believed the worst without a second thought. That's what told me I needed distance. We were just going by what Linda told us, Uncle Bob said defensively. Exactly. You went by what someone told you instead of verifying it yourselves. That's not how you treat people you care about. So what do you want from us? Aunt Carol asked, groveling apologies. I don't want anything from you. I'm not here to demand apologies or explanations. I'm here to tell you my truth so that you can't say I never gave you the full story. What you do with that truth is up to you. I looked around the room at these people who shared my blood, who'd been at my birthday parties and graduations, who I thought would always have my back. If you want to continue believing I'm a villain, that's your choice. But know this, I'm not the person who abandoned family. I'm the person who finally stopped allowing family to take advantage of me. There's a difference. The room was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, my cousin Jennifer spoke up. I believe you, she said quietly. And I'm sorry I sent you that angry text. I didn't know the whole story. Neither did I, another cousin, Mark, added. I heard everyone was mad at you, so I assumed you'd done something wrong. That was unfair. One by one, some of the cousins apologized. Not all of them. Some still looked skeptical, still seemed to think I was overreacting. But enough of them softened that the atmosphere in the room shifted. Aunt Carol, however, remained unmoved. I still think you handled this wrong. Family is family, and you don't just cut them off. You're right, I said. Family is family, and family should treat each other with respect and trust. When my family failed to do that, I protected myself. I'd make the same choice again. She shook her head. You've changed, Marcus. Money has changed you. You're absolutely right. Money did change me. It showed me who valued me for myself and who valued me for what I could provide. That's a painful but necessary lesson. Uncle Bob shifted uncomfortably. So what now? Where do we go from here? That's up to each of you, Mom said. We're rebuilding our relationship with Marcus based on respect and honesty. Anyone who wants to be part of this family going forward needs to commit to the same thing. If you can't do that, if you're going to keep judging and condemning, then we'll respect your choice to keep your distance. Aunt Carol stood abruptly. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Linda, you're choosing your son over your own sister. I'm choosing honesty over comfort, Mom replied, steady. I'm choosing accountability over enabling. And yes, Carol, I'm choosing my son, because he's the one who has been honest and accountable while you've been spreading gossip and judgment. Aunt Carol grabbed her purse. I won't stay here and be insulted. No one's insulting you. We're just asking you to acknowledge reality. She stormed out, Uncle Bob trailing behind with an apologetic shrug. A few other relatives looked uncomfortable but stayed. After they left, the tension eased slightly. We spent the next hour talking, really talking. Some relatives asked questions about what had happened. Others shared their own struggles with family boundaries. It wasn't perfect, and not everyone was convinced, but it was progress. As people left, Jennifer pulled me aside. Hey, Marcus, I just wanted to say, I think you did the right thing. It took guts to set those boundaries. Thanks, Jen. And for what it's worth, I think our whole family could use better boundaries. Watching you do this has made me think about my own situation. Your mom's still calling you 5 times a day. She laughed. 6 times, but I'm working on it. When everyone had gone, it was just the 5 of us again, Mom, Dad, Amanda, Derek, and me. We collapsed in the living room, exhausted. Well, Derek said, that was intense. But necessary, Mom added. She looked at me. Thank you for being here, for speaking your truth. I know that wasn't easy. It wasn't, but it needed to happen. Dad stood and pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you, son. You stood your ground even when it was hard. That takes real character. Coming from Dad, that meant everything. # Part 10. Thanksgiving Redux. The months after the family meeting brought unexpected changes. Aunt Carol never apologized, and we didn't have much contact with that side of the family anymore. But surprisingly, I didn't miss it. The relationships that had been based on obligation and expectation fell away, and what remained felt more authentic. Jennifer and I started having monthly coffee dates. She was working on setting boundaries with her own mother, and we'd swap stories and strategies. A few other cousins stayed in touch too, the ones who'd understood what I was trying to do. My immediate family continued to thrive. Amanda got another promotion in September, assistant manager. She was dating someone new, a teacher named Ryan, and seemed genuinely happy. Derek and Chad's landscaping business was doing well enough that Derek had quit his gym job to focus on it full-time. Mom and Dad were planning a trip to Colorado in the spring, something they'd always talked about but never done. They were learning to live for themselves again, not just for their kids. And me, I was finally learning who Marcus was when he wasn't defined by family drama. I'd started teaching a painting class at the community center. Nothing fancy, just basic techniques for beginners. But I loved it. Loved sharing something I was passionate about. Loved seeing people discover their own creativity. I'd also started dadding again. Her name was Olivia, and she was a pediatric nurse with a wicked sense of humor and zero tolerance for bullshit. When I told her about the family situation, she'd listened carefully, then said, "Good for you. More people need to learn how to set boundaries." That's it, no judgment. Why would I judge you for protecting yourself? That's like judging someone for wearing a seatbelt. I thought I might be falling in love with her. October arrived with its usual explosion of autumn colors, and with it came a question I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Marcus, Mom said on our weekly call, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest. No pressure, no guilt. Okay. Will you come to Thanksgiving this year? I'd known this was coming. It had been almost a year since that text message, almost a year since I'd been banned and had walked away. So much had changed. So much had been healed. But was it enough? "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Of course, take all the time you need." I talked to Dr. Chen about it in our next session. "What do you want to do?" she asked, her favorite question. "I want to go," I admitted, "but I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of falling back into old patterns. Scared that being there will trigger all the old dynamics. Scared that I'll lose all the progress I've made." "Do you think that's likely?" I considered it. "No, I've changed. They've changed. We're not the same people we were a year ago." "So what's really holding you back?" I sat with the question, digging deeper. I think I'm scared of letting go of my anger. As long as I'm holding on to it, I'm protected. If I fully forgive them, fully let them back in, I'm vulnerable again. And vulnerability is scary. Terrifying. But isn't that what love is? Choosing vulnerability despite the risk. She was right, of course. Staying angry was safe, but it was also lonely. And I'd spent enough time being lonely. That night, I called Mom back. "I'll be there," I said. "For Thanksgiving, I'll be there." She started crying immediately. "Oh, Marcus, oh, thank you. You don't know what this means to." "But I need to set some expectations," I interrupted gently. She sniffled. "Of course, anything." "I'm bringing Olivia." "Your girlfriend? Absolutely, we'd love to meet her." "And I'm staying in a hotel, not at the house. I need my own space to decompress." "That's fine. And if at any point things start feeling unhealthy or toxic, I'm going to leave. No drama, no explanation, I'll just go. And that has to be okay." "It's okay. Whatever you need, Marcus. We just want you there." "Then I'll be there." The weeks leading up to Thanksgiving were surprisingly calm. No crisis calls, no last-minute dramas. Mom sent me the menu and asked if there was anything special I wanted. Amanda texted asking if Olivia had any dietary restrictions. I pulled Derek sent me a meme about after everything we've been through. That was actually I think they're just grateful I'm coming at all. Olivia was nervous about meeting everyone. We drove down Wednesday afternoon, she asked the night before checking into a hotel near my parents' house. "They won't hate you. They're going to love you." That evening, we met my immediate family for coffee. Just a casual introduction, no pressure. Mom hugged Olivia immediately. "Thank you for coming, and thank you for making my son smile like that." Olivia blushed. "He makes me smile too." Amanda and Olivia bonded over their shared love of true crime podcasts. Derek and Olivia discovered they'd both run the same 10K race last year. Dad asked her thoughtful questions about her work as a nurse. It was easy, natural, normal. That night, back at the hotel, Olivia curled up against me. "I like your family." Yeah, I can tell they've been through stuff, but they're trying. That counts for a lot." "It does. And I can see why you fought so hard to set boundaries. They were drowning, and they were pulling you down with them. But now they're swimming on their own, and that's beautiful." I kissed the top of her head, grateful for her understanding, grateful for her presence, grateful for this moment of peace. Thanksgiving Day arrived sunny and crisp. We showed up at the house at 2 p.m., arms full of the pies we'd picked up from a local bakery. The house was full of the smells of my childhood, turkey and stuffing and sweet potatoes. But it felt different too, lighter, happier. Mom put me to work mashing potatoes, while Olivia helped Amanda set the table. Derek and Dad were in charge of the turkey, arguing good-naturedly about proper carving technique. "You know what's funny?" Mom said as I mashed. "Last Thanksgiving, we had all this food and all these people, and it felt empty because you weren't here. This year, it's just us 6, and it feels full." "Quality over quantity," I said. "Exactly." She bumped her shoulder against mine, a gesture from my childhood. "I'm so glad you're here, baby." "Me too, Mom." Dinner was chaotic in the best way. We squeezed around the table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals together. The food was delicious. The conversation flowed easily. Stories were shared, jokes were made, and laughter filled the spaces where tension used to live. At one point, Dad stood and raised his glass. "I'd like to make a toast." We all lifted our glasses. "To Marcus," he said, looking directly at me, "who loved us enough to let us fail, who set boundaries that saved our family, and who gave us the gift of the chance to become better people." His voice cracked. "I'm proud to be your father, son." "To Marcus," everyone echoed. I blinked back tears. "Can I say something too?" "Of course." "I want to toast all of you. To Mom and Dad, who had the courage to look at themselves honestly and change. To Amanda, who discovered that she's capable of so much more than she thought. To Derek, who's building something real and sustainable. And to all of us for doing the hard work of becoming a healthier family." I looked around the table. Last year at this time, I thought we were broken beyond repair. But we weren't broken, we were just stuck. And we got unstuck together. "To getting unstuck," Derek said, grinning. "To getting unstuck." After dinner, we sat in the living room, stuffed and happy. Olivia fit right in, laughing at Derek's terrible jokes and holding her own in a spirited debate with Amanda about the ethics of true crime entertainment. As the evening wound down, Mom walked me to the door. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for giving us another chance, for being here, for everything. Thank you for doing the work to deserve another chance." She hugged me tight. "I love you so much." "I love you too, Mom." Driving back to the hotel, Olivia took my hand. "That was really special." "It was, wasn't it? Your family has come so far, and so have you." "We all have." "Do you think you'll keep doing monthly dinners?" "Yeah, I think so. It's not perfect, and it probably never will be, but it's real now, it's honest, and that's enough." She kissed my cheek. "That's more than enough." Thanksgiving came around again, marking 2 years since that text message that had blown up my life. But this year, there was no drama, no anxiety, no dread. I showed up at my parents' house Wednesday evening, Olivia beside me, my fiancé now, the ring sparkling on her finger. Mom cried when we told her the news last month. Happy tears, though, so many happy tears. The house was full. Amanda and Ryan were there, talking about their upcoming trip to Iceland. Derek and his girlfriend Maya were helping Chad prepare sides in the kitchen. Chad had become an honorary family member over the past 2 years. Mom and Dad were both home from work early, laughing as they argued over the proper way to brine a turkey. "Marcus," Derek called when he saw us, "get in here and settle this debate. Is gravy a sauce or a condiment?" "It's clearly a sauce," I said, shrugging off my coat. "Thank you," Derek high-fived me. "You're both wrong," Chad interjected. "It's a beverage." Everyone groaned. Later that evening, after dinner and dessert, after the dishes were done and everyone was lounging in various states of food coma, Dad pulled out a bottle of expensive scotch. "Special occasion," he said, pouring small glasses for those who wanted it. "What's the occasion?" Amanda asked. 2 years, Dad said simply. 2 years since our family almost fell apart. 2 years since Marcus taught us what boundaries and respect really mean. I think that deserves a drink. We raised our glasses. "You know what I realized," Mom said. "That text I sent Marcus, you're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot, it was the worst thing I've ever done. But in a strange way, it was also the best thing." "How do you figure?" I asked, curious. "Because it was so awful, so unforgivable, that it couldn't be ignored or swept under the rug. It forced all of us to confront the reality of what we'd become. If I'd been just a little bit nicer, just a little bit more subtle, We might have kept limping along in our dysfunction for years, but I was so cruel that it broke everything immediately, and that gave us the chance to rebuild the right way. I thought about that. She was right. If Mom had just been disappointed, if the family had just been quietly judgmental, I might have stayed stuck in those patterns forever. But the shock of that text, the totality of the rejection, had been so extreme that it had forced a reckoning. "So you're saying your cruelty was actually a gift?" Olivia asked, smiling. "In the most twisted possible way, yes," Mom laughed. "Though I still hate myself for sending it." "Don't," I said. "You were doing the best you could with the tools you had at the time. We all were. What matters is what we did after." "Speaking of after," Derek said, "have you seen how much money we saved this year? Maya and I are actually building an emergency fund. An emergency fund. 6 months ago, I didn't even know what that was." "I have a retirement account," Amanda announced proudly, "with actual money in it that's growing." "And we paid off the mortgage early," Dad added, beaming. 30 years we carried that thing, and we finally paid it off, 3 years ahead of schedule." "That's amazing," I said, genuinely proud of them. "Couldn't have done it without you cutting us off," Dad joked. Then, more seriously, "Really though, you forcing us to stand on our own feet was the best thing that ever happened to our finances." "Our everything," Mom corrected. "Our finances, our relationships, our self-respect, all of it." We sat together in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when people have been through hell together and made it out the other side. My phone buzzed with a text. Jennifer, my cousin. "Jennifer, happy Thanksgiving. Mom and I actually had a decent conversation today. I set a boundary about her calling and she respected it. Baby steps." "Me, that's huge. Proud of you." "Jennifer, you inspired me. If you could set boundaries with your whole family, I could set them with my mom. Thanks for showing me it was possible." I showed the text to Mom. She smiled. Maybe some good came out of all of this for other people too. "Ripple effects," Olivia said. "Healing spreads just like dysfunction does." As the evening wound down and people started heading home, I found myself alone with Mom in the kitchen. She was wrapping up leftovers, moving with the efficient grace of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. "Can I ask you something?" I said,